Hey everybody, this is Chris DeFirio with Keys to the Shop. Welcome to another edition of Shift Break. Today's episode is brought to you by the ground control Cyclops brewer from Voga Coffee. Batch brew coffee is a pretty standard offering in your coffee bar, but there are not many machines out there. There's not much technology that will really unlock the next level of what your coffee can be on batch brew, except for the ground control brewer. This brewer has been designed to unlock an unheard of range of possibilities and flavor precisely and repeatedly every time with your batch brew coffee that you might not have ever thought possible. Personally, I've tasted coffee from this machine using this SCA award-winning technology. And not only is the machine amazing to look at, but I think it is literally the next step in the evolution of coffee brewing in the coffee shop. And you know what? People are still getting their coffee to go. Their to-go experience needs to be the best that it can be. And focusing on the quality of your batch brew has never been more important than right now. This machine not only makes batch brew, but also cold brew, cocoa, tea, even batch lattes. It's a very versatile piece of equipment, easy to train your staff on, easy to use, and I do recommend them to you if you're in the market to really elevate the batch brew experience in your shop, just really set your shop and your coffee apart from your competitors, provide your guests with an amazing experience with the ground control Cyclops brewer. Go to their website to find out more information over at vogacoffee.com. That's VOGA coffee.com. Today's episode is also brought to you by Espresso. They create all manual lever presses that create amazing cafe-quality espresso in your home. It's a very well-made machine, small footprint, and literally cafe quality. And when I say cafe quality, I've worked in coffee 20 years, and I know what dialing in the morning means. It means that I get to have one of the best espressos you can get in town as a barista. That's a luxury that you have, right? You have access to that. But when you go home, sometimes you don't have that, and your customers certainly don't necessarily have that, but you could offer that to them through the Flare Espresso. And when I make espresso on the Flare, it really is just like I've been transported to being behind the bar myself. This would be something amazing to sell your customers, to open up the range of ways that they can experience your coffee in their own home, or for yourself, just as a coffee professional, to have a beautiful, easy-to-use piece of equipment that makes amazing espresso and is actually very affordable as well. So can't speak highly enough about Flare. So happy I bought mine, and I think you should go ahead and do the same thing. And right now, if you do that, you can get 5% off your entire order by using the code Keys to the Flare on checkout. Again, that's the code Keys to the Flare on checkout when you go and purchase your Flare espresso machine over at flareespresso.com. All right, everybody. So today I wanted to talk to you about a phenomenon related to fear of missing out, FOMO, called FOLO. I think I just invented that term. Although there's probably lots of variations of FOMO using different letters out there. But this is fear of limited options. As I listen into the conversations that people are having in the industry, and as I talk with my consulting clients about their businesses as they're just getting off the ground and we're developing their menu, this topic comes up quite often. This conversation is really critical to nail down first, because literally everything about the way that you build your business is focused on the menu, or at least it should be. Developing a menu is the first thing you do before, or should be the first thing you do before designing your bar. What do you want to sell your customers? Now, coffee is a great answer. No, duh. But the generalities don't really help. We need to be specific. And I'm in the midst of this process currently with one of my clients, like figuring out the exact menu. And then we kind of design the bar around that. So the question automatically comes up, well, what do I serve? And when you go on Google and you say, or maybe ask the question, what do I serve in my coffee bar? There are hundreds, thousands even of companies out there who will tell you that what you need in your bar is their syrup, is their powder, is their cookie, biscotti, and their job literally every day is to come up with ways to answer any questions or doubts that you might have that their chocolate chunk cookie that's vegan and gluten-free is exactly what you need. And in fact, the syrup, the pineapple syrup that they're trying to sell you, people want it. In fact, studies show pineapple flavor has gone up recently. And certainly you don't want to be the coffee bar where people come in and they're like, "Excuse me, do you have pineapple syrup?" And you say no, and they're like, "I'm not going to come to your coffee shop anymore because you don't have that syrup I want." This is the kind of thing that marketing does, is they say you can't live without this, and so it is a kind of FOMO. But ultimately, it drives FOLO, the fear of limited options. Because if we limit our options, we falsely, I think, equate that with limiting our income, with limiting our customers. And so you walk into a coffee bar, and what do you see for a lot of these places that just start out, especially the ones that go quickly, and they really are prey to this? You see 75 different syrups, and I guarantee you about maybe 60 of them are ill-used. Financially speaking, if you were to actually look at the year-long projection of how much you're going to go through versus other syrups, you just don't use those ones. The sugar-free toasted marshmallow, that might not be the number one seller, but there's that one customer that wants that one syrup, and you know why they want it? They want it because you offered it. So it's this vicious circle of, we create the demand and then we pretend we had nothing to do with it, and we treat the demand as if it just dropped out of thin air, but it did not. We market to people, and then they in turn build they build an expectation. Now this really is insidious, because now we share customers with other companies, that develop these dependencies on, the sugar-free hazelnut s'more, caramel drink. And that person walks into your bar with this badge on their chest that says, "Yeah, we'll see if you're good. If you have this, insert esoteric syrup name here, flavor." And, that is a fearful thing, especially when you're first starting out. You feel like you're going to let them down. But there is a long game to play here. If you play this game where you stock your menu based on fear, then you will become nothing in terms of identity. You will specialize in almost nothing. You're being led by the nose by the latest trends. So really what I want to drive at today is this. You don't have to be afraid of limited options. Limited options gives you possibilities in the future. By offering an incredible amount of options to your customers, you create fear in them. This is an absolutely true thing. It's the paralysis that it's choice paralysis. People look at a giant menu. They look at that and they say, "Oh my goodness, I don't know what to get." So 9 times out of 10, people will default to the most familiar, or you'll have the adventurous person who will order from the menu that really complicated drink. And then we latch onto that person and say, "See, I was right to get Bananas Foster syrup in my shop because we had 6 people this week that ordered it." And, that's proof of concept right there. So we're just kind of desperate to justify that case of syrup that we just bought, right? Let's be honest with ourselves. We don't need all of this stuff. We don't need all the things. We need the right things. And what that means is we need to look at what the customers want in categorical style. Do we want a sugar-free option? Well, sure. Maybe have a sugar-free option. Have 6 sugar-free options? Maybe not. Okay. Sugar-free vanilla is usually a very good option for any sugar-free person out there. But you don't need to breed options like rabbits in order to, check it off the list as, well, at least we've got all these in case people order them. So then there's categories like chocolate. Do you have white chocolate? Do you have regular chocolate? Sure, have both, right? Do you need sugar-free mocha? No, you don't necessarily need that. I honestly recommend people only have about 5 to 7 different types of flavor options that they offer their customers in addition to lattes. This is not just a latte conversation either. This is a conversation about baked goods, food, all sorts of stuff. The managing principle is here, break things down into categories to say, is it important for your community to have a keto option? Is it important for them to have a vegan option? You need to know your community's tastes first. Break down a few options, a few categories, and offer them an option within that category. And then, you can have a staple, and then you can have a seasonal. But realize that if you just have a dearth of options all the time and you introduce a new seasonal thing, it's just, I'm numb. As a customer, I am numb to what you offer me because, really, there's not anything else to explore because you've already just put it all on the table and said, choose. So the mystery is taken. There's no fun anymore. There's no surprise. And so you've kind of shot yourself in the foot there because people really like to see new things on the menu, but you can't do that and have it be successful if you've got 100 different options of food items and baked goods and syrups and different types of specialty drinks. So limiting your options is very much a practice of opening up your options later. That is what drives a good interplay between like the customer coming in and getting used to something which they want to. They want to have consistency, but then they want to have surprise. They want to have novelty and a mystery and like, oh, this is exciting. And that's why everywhere I've worked, when I've been a manager or operations manager or in charge of, this program, we've introduced seasonal options, and we have severely limited, like gone into situations where there was syrups and sauces that just weren't used, but there was like a few customers that would use them, got rid of them. You gain a whole lot more in consistency, in developing a balance between that and the novelty of newly introduced, well-executed items. You win so much more. Your business cannot sustain you stocking your menu based on fear. So I would encourage you to go into your storeroom and look around and be honest with yourself. Do you sell that? Do you really sell that? Should you just axe it? Like, how much money did you spend on those par-baked raspberry oat bars, right? Are they selling? If they are, they're selling like hotcakes and literally sell them. That's great. But the other thing to think about here is that even if something is selling a lot, maybe it's not the most practical. Maybe you're actually losing money on it. You have to limit your options in that sense because you can't sustain a certain item, even though it's very popular. Come up with a cheaper way to fulfill the desires that people have built around that thing. Is it a savory desire? Is it a sweet desire? Is it an indulgence, but with an asterisk that says, low fat or keto or something like that? Break that category down and then try to offer something in place of it as a way of meeting halfway. But you kind of have to be ruthless to open up your options later and free up some money now so you don't fall prey to stocking your menu and what you do based on the fear of limited options. So I hope that this episode was helpful for you. Thank you so much for listening. I will see you here next week on another edition of Shift Break, from keys to the shop.